let's talk about your next paper, which is example. All right, this comes from chapter 8 in the textbook, in your Back to the Lake book. So make sure that you read through that chapter. I'm going to hit on a few of the key ideas from that chapter, but you need to go back and make sure that you read through that chapter before you start writing. The idea with example, sometimes we also call illustration, is to illustrate a point or to make a point by using examples. Now, this is probably one of the most common types of essays out there. You will do this type of essay over and over and over again in your college career. But you've probably also done it many other times too, because it's really the 5-paragraph essay. Give me 3 reasons, give me 3 examples, maybe 3 reasons why Romeo and Juliet is a completely ridiculous plot line because they're both 13 and they've known each other 5 days. Things like that. So you have done these in short paragraphs, you have done these in long essays. So what we're doing is focusing on, can you have good organization with this paper? And so are you able to use different pieces of information, put them together in a clear, logical manner that then forms a cohesive idea? So one idea that may be really big or a little abstract, and then you give us examples or reasons that then make it very clear to your reader why you are making this point. So the goal here is to take something that's more abstract, more complex, and make it much more concrete by giving good examples, good reasons. So a couple of things you need to think about before you choose a topic, or while you're choosing a topic, is what kind of topics appeal to your readers. Also, what kind of examples appeal to your readers. So think about it from the perspective of your small groups, and write to those people. When you're coming up with your 3 reasons or your 3 examples, you can go either way. Listing is very helpful, and webbing is also a really great brainstorming technique for this one. The big thing you'll have to do is decide, are you going to write to inform, or are you going to write to persuade? Because if you're writing to inform us, this is why this is this way, then you'll give us examples. If you're writing to persuade us, this is why you should also agree with me that this is true, then you'll need to give us reasons. So it kind of depends on what the purpose is you've chosen, and some of that depends on your topic. Okay. On here, I've given you some ideas, just kind of some examples of something that you may do. So examples of like heroes or love or hate or forgiveness. A lot of times we do number 4, which is why everyone should fill in the blank. Okay. You probably did this a lot in literature and history, giving examples, citing evidence from maybe a textbook, a story, something like that. So this one should be pretty familiar. The thesis for this one typically is that you have a very narrow topic and we have some kind of so what. What are we supposed to learn from your paper? There are a couple of different ways you can give us examples. You can give us personal examples. This is where narrative comes back into play. You can tell us 3 different stories of how you have seen this in your own life. Okay, so you can use I for this paper. That is perfectly acceptable. And just give us 3 examples of how this is true, or how this has been true in your life. Or 3 reasons that may also include some personal experience as evidence as to why the point you're making is true. A typical case could be, this is how it generally works in society. This is just, typically what happens to people in the real world. You can use those also. Hypothetical is looking to the future. This is how things could work. So here's if we did this, a thing, here's what could happen then because of it. And so I'll give you an example. I had a student who was actually studying solar energy, alternative energy and solar. And so he wanted to write about why we need to implement solar roads. And of course, then all of his examples we're hypothetical because we don't have solar roads yet. So the three examples he gave them were, things that would happen or could happen if we implemented or started using solar panels on our roads. So that one would be hypothetical. The last one is extended example, and that is instead of using three different examples, you choose one very, very powerful example and you break it into three parts. Okay, be careful with this one. You can use it. I'm okay with it. But the one issue is it is carrying your whole paper. So it needs to be really specific. You have to tell it very, very descriptively, very well. Give us all the detail you can, because it has to hold your whole paper together. So just consider that if you're thinking about extended example. The key to this paper is to be very, very specific. You need to give us specific details, specific reasons. So a lot of the skills we worked on with description, you need to keep carrying those over. Okay, show me, don't tell me. Make sure you're hitting on your five senses. Give us very descriptive words to use. Okay, so once you come up with a topic, think about your thesis. What kind of examples or reasons are you going to include then? Then you need to decide, how am I going to organize it? There are, of course, a couple different ways. You could do it chronologically, if that makes sense. Maybe in the order that they've happened to you in your life. Perfectly fine. You can do it spatially, again, where things are in space. You could do simple to complex. So the most simple reason or example to the most complex reason or example. Or you could do it emphatically, and that is the weakest example to your strongest example. Either way, there needs to be organization. That is the key. One of the key parts of this paper is that there's clear organization. You should have multiple paragraphs. These paragraphs should be pretty hefty paragraphs, because you need to prove or explain yourself and explain yourself well. Okay? You also need to have strong transitions as you move from one example or one reason to another. And the reason you need that is because we need to understand how those three things are related to each other. So transitions act as glue that hold the parts of your essay together and help your reader move from one to the next. Okay? What we don't want with transitions is first, next, last. That's like cheap glue that is really old. You've used that and you try to put the glue on there and it doesn't stick very well and it's really gloopy. That's what those kind of transitions are. They don't really show relationship at all. So you want to make sure that you embed your transitions. So that first sentence or the first part of your topic sentence, you need to make sure has a connector that shows how the new paragraph is related to the paragraph before it. Okay, so make sure that you have strong transitions. So what I'm looking for, make sure that you have a very clear thesis, that every body paragraph has a main idea that tells us what that paragraph is going to be about or the point you're going to make in that paragraph. You have transitions then between the paragraphs that show us how each paragraph is related to the next paragraph, and they need to be good transitions. Okay, and then make sure that you have a strong conclusion that then wraps all of this up. All right, there's a really good example in the book, one of my favorite essays in the book. So you really, really should read this. It's called, The 7 Deadly Sins Committed at a Church Bake Sale. Just to be clear, this is satire. Okay, so let's not get our feelings hurt. This is from The Onion. If you're familiar with The Onion, some of you may be familiar with the Babylon Bee, similar thing. So this is written as satire. It's meant to be funny, sarcastic. So read it that way, okay? But it's very funny and it's very clear and you'll see very good examples and the point that they're making. So I strongly suggest you take a look at that one. Okay, so topics for this paper. What are you supposed to write about? What are your topic choices for this paper? Well, We're actually going to do this as a specific type of example paper. So let me show you what that is. We're going to do this as a This I Believe paper. Some of you may have seen these before. Maybe you have done one of these before. Here's what I've discovered, even if students have done this before for other classes in the past, you're growing and changing and learning and maturing so much over these, last 3 to 5 years. Especially now that you're in college, and those change. Okay. So write it again, do it a little differently this time. The idea of this, I believe, is to really get to the heart of what is it at your core that you believe in that then drives all of your decisions. Okay. That makes you who you are. So it needs to be very simple, very clear. And that then becomes your topic. Okay, what is it at your core that you believe? All right. Then you will give me examples or give me reasons that explain, okay, or illustrate why you believe this. So what I suggest you do is you start out with what we call the 6-word memoir. You may have seen this on some teachers' doors. We do this at Crowder. Who are you at your core? What is your basic belief in 6 words? Okay. Can you distill everything down to 6 words? All right. I'll give you mine. This one's on my door right now. It says, pray big and do hard things. That is something that I firmly believe in, that I try to teach my kids, that we need to pray big and then we need to do hard things, because those are the things that will challenge us, change us, teach us, and hopefully in small ways change the world. So that's my 6-word memoir. So I want you to decide in 6 words, who are you? What is it that you believe at your core? Okay. Once you've decided that, then you can write the rest of the paper. Those 6 words become your thesis. Okay. Then you can see here on the screen that there are some guidelines. Tell a story about you. Make sure it's very specific. Okay. That it really shows. It doesn't have to be heartwarming or gut-wrenching. It can be very funny. The thing is that it needs to be real. It needs to be honest. Okay. A true experience written in a very clear voice that sounds like you and is authentic to your life. Be brief. It needs to be between 500 and 600 words. So that's between 2.5 pages. Okay. And they've given you a time, if you read it out loud, about 3 minutes, if you read it at your normal pace. Be sure you name your belief. So that is your 6-word memoir. Okay. That's your belief. Then the rest of the paper is explaining or giving reasons why this is what you believe. Be positive. We want to know what you believe, not what you don't believe in. Okay, so make sure that you make this a positive, not a negative statement. Tell us what you do, not what you don't. Okay, so be very, very careful there. Be very, very personal. This is about you. This isn't about your neighbor. This isn't about your parents. This isn't about your family. All of those things are a part of you, but you are uniquely you. And so I want to know who you are. Speak in first person. Again, please don't use you or we, because this isn't about other people. This is about you. Tell a story from your own life. We don't want just editorializing, just, this in general, this is what I feel about this particular current event topic or something like that. That's not what this is. Okay. You should read your essay aloud so that you make sure that it sounds like you, that it feels natural. Okay. And what we're going to do with these when we're all done fixing them up is we're actually going to bind them and put them in a book. They become almost a time capsule of, my students and college life at Crowder College in the Midwest at this time. So that is your topic for this paper. If you would like some examples, I will post a couple in the class. But if you go to This I Believe on the homepage, there are a bunch of different examples you can explore and find essays from all sorts of decades. They've been doing this since the 1950s. So there are essays spanning all generations. Okay. They've actually put them in books. So this is the book, This I Believe. This includes some of my favorites, including Bill Gates, Albert Einstein, Thomas Mann, just lots. Colin Powell is in here. So some of the great names, and then just everyday people like us. One I wanted to show you that is one of my favorites is called Be Cool to the Pizza Dude. This actually, what NPR started doing with this was using it. It was a radio show in the 50s, and then again in the 2000s, they brought it back. So you can listen to audio from the radio show from some of these. And so you can play the audio and hear the authors actually telling us their story. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, you can see this one. I like the way she has it organized. It's very clear. You can see her personal philosophy is be cool to the pizza delivery dude. It's good luck. Okay, so that's kind of like her little, 6-word memoir. It's a little longer than 6, but you get the idea. And then she gives you her reasons why. So I think this is a good example. There are lots of other amazing examples on the website. Again, 60 plus years of people submitting their own personal philosophies. If you want to see what other students have done, there's a whole section down on the bottom called What Students Believe. And so these are ones that students have submitted over the years to the This I Believe project. So this is a project, national, actually it became an international project just to capture what it is that humanity believes in. And one of the things I love about this is it's so positive, and it really gives us a picture of all the good in humanity. So that's your assignment. Write your This I Believe paper, and then make sure you have it ready to go. All right, I hope you have a great day. Happy writing. If you have any questions after you get started, feel free to contact me. All right, talk to you later. Bye.